Rebuilding an NBA franchise is no easy task. Hell, just building a franchise isn't easy. But destroying one sure is simple. GMs making trades and roster moves purely on a talent statistic aspect or to save money when they make no damn sense in execution. Oh, the days when Cleveland had no idea how to help LeBron James, so they simply picked the most random hot talent to come to Cleveland. Let's get Shaquille O'Neal, who's a ghost of what he formerly was. Let's get Anton Jamison. He put up 20 a night, so that's 20 instantly added points, right? And let's have him start at power forward instead of moving LeBron to that spot, or hell, just starting JJ Hickson, who's far better suited for the position. Let's sign Jamario Moon. He was in the slam dunk contest. It's remarkable. A team that was a few appropriate role players away from a championship threw it away on nonsense roster moves. And I won't even get started on horrible teams that just have no direction at all. Well, that's where I come in. I'm Keith Andrews, and I'm about to embark on a journey as general manager of one of the NBA's 30 franchises. Alongside me is my assistant, who is a part of my plentiful staff that you will meet throughout my time here. She will help me finalize my decisions and changes to the club. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Riley Flynn. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from Washington State University, and I went to a lot of Cougar basketball games and football games, especially the homecoming games where I would...
She's an intern. Anyway, let's take a look around and see what are some possible destinations for us.
I've always wanted to go to New York.
Would have been a lot more fun if taken over 4 years ago when they were still a laughingstock. Now they have a legitimate superstar in Carmelo Anthony and a roster that makes a lot of sense. And in my opinion, they have the most effective center in the NBA in Tyson Chandler. Not a lot to build there. Brooklyn is poised for a playoff run this year with their offseason moves and a rather solid starting five and decent bench players. New York's out of the picture.
Well, Boston's got such great heritage and history. It's a nice city.
And an aging roster that is soon on their way out. Paul Pierce and KG haven't got much left in their tanks, and that's becoming Rajon Rondo's team soon. Building a team around one of the league's best point guards could be really interesting, especially if I could help develop the scoring game.
And Tom Brady is there. Oh, I could go and watch him every Sunday and wear my best Jimmy Choos. No. Uggs. Of course, yeah, Uggs. I'll wear those to the game just for him. I would do anything.
We're not going to Boston. How about Minnesota? They're on the cusp of being a playoff team. They have Kevin Love, who could be tradable. He's, jack of all trades, master of none guy. You got Derek Williams and Ricky Rubio. They just need to figure out how to work together and build a roster around them and not get injured all the time.
And look at how cute the little wolf looks. He wouldn't hurt anyone. No, you wouldn't. Look at him. Ow.
Yeah. And their jerseys are really kind of soft, almost WNBA looking. No, wait a minute, that's an insult to the Lynx. At least the Lynx look more threatening than they do. That's why they have a championship and you don't. Seriously, how do you make a wolf unthreatening? Next.
We could always go to Atlanta.
Atlanta was the classic case of a team with a ton of depth, great coaching, and excellent players, but couldn't go far because they didn't have a takeover player or a superstar on their team. What a shame. Now they're a bit of a project with a ton of offensive firepower. They can't play defense. I feel like there's not a lot to build there, though.
Well, there's some lovely ski resorts near Salt Lake City.
Great. A franchise has been a borderline playoff team for the past decade or so and can't even figure out what color scheme they want to go with. Actually, they would be interesting to work with because all the pieces aren't quite there yet. They're still kind of a project.
And all the light beer we can drink. Low on calories. It's perfect.
No thanks. I'm not a light drinker. Especially if I'm going to have to deal with building the Jazz in Utah of all places.
You know, there's a liquor law in Utah, right? 3.2% alcohol by weight for beer, and the taverns and bars only serve 3.2%.
Why? How do you even know this?
And no hard liquor unless with a special license. And you also can't purchase alcohol after 1 a.m.
So Phoenix is nice. Isn't it so weird that they were contenders for such a long span of the 2000s and now they're completely irrelevant? Remember that?
I barely remember the last time I was here in Arizona. ASU. Good times.
This might be a nice place for us. I'd like to see Phoenix win one, and I could definitely do that here. I'm sure there's some decent talent here. You have the documents. Who's the best player on this roster, Riley?
Marcin Gortat?
That's not a rebuild. That's a 5-year project. And that's being generous. Riley, put Marcin Gortat on my trade wish list. Next.
Anywhere in Cali? Please?
Both LA teams are way too overpowered, except one's just not a joke. Golden State would have been fun last year with Mark Jackson coming in, but that ship got righted quickly. Sacramento isn't even going to be in Sacramento anymore. Next.
There's not that many teams left. I don't know. Charlotte?
Could you imagine me telling the greatest basketball player ever what to do with his roster? No, seriously, could you even realistically see that happening? Next.
You know, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I bet you got that a lot at Washington State.
What was that?
Next.
Toronto.
Now we're thinking. I think most Raptors fans, even though they won't admit it, or anyone who has ever really cared about Toronto, really miss the Vince Carter days. So much that I think most people have completely wiped Chris Bosh being a Raptor from their memories. DeMar DeRozan's pretty good. Andrea Bargnani is great trade bait. Not a fan of Kyle Lowry being the best player on the team, but, you know, that's something we can work around. Toronto's a cool city, too. Really clean. I could actually make basketball prominent in Canada.
Yeah, right. There's nothing you'll ever do to make Canada care about basketball.
Well, do you have any better ideas?
Yes, I do. Like our nation's capital. They have that guy who can do that dance there.
I am so glad to hear that the extent of your basketball knowledge is knowing that a player can do a dance. I'm really proud of you. But DC is interesting. A point guard who has a ton of potential but no one's really sure about, and a roster full of trade bait with Okafor, Ariza, and Nene. The culture needs a serious change there too, and there's not another sports city that I can think of that is in dire need of a pick-me-up.
Well, there's Cleveland.
Yeah, but who seriously wants to go to Cleveland? No. Seriously? We're going to Cleveland. Fuck. You know, I hope Dan Gilbert sends me my contract in Comic Sans font, just so that it's a friendly reminder that I can remember how seriously I should really be taking this franchise. Alright, Terrell Woods, you're the team scout here for the Cavaliers. You've been here for about 2 years, the whole time after the whole... you know what, we're not even going to mention his name, we've moved on. Tell me what you know about the roster.
Well, Kyrie Irving is...
And don't start dick riding Kyrie Irving. I get it. He's the star of the team, a bright guy, very mature beyond his years. In only his second year, he could really break out as a star, a prolific scorer, a great jump shooter, amazing command on the floor. He auditioned with Team USA. Yes, exactly. Now, what can you tell me about the rest of the roster?
Well, we got Varejao, who's the old guy on the roster. He's a high-energy guy, very relentless, and a presence in the paint. He's very active defensively, and in the literal sense, he's kind of the cornerstone of our team here.
You're selling me this guy harder than a Bleacher Report article. I get it. He's a poor man's Joakim Noah with better hair.
Well, personally, I dig the slick back ponytail, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But he's had a few injury problems that's kept him out towards the end of the season. Bit of a concern for us.
Okay, so what about the rest of the starting five?
There's Dion Waiters, who we selected with the 4th pick in our draft out of Syracuse. Physical player who could play some defense at the 2. Good size at 6'4", 215. And he could play the 1 and the 2 if we wanted to go big. He doesn't turn the ball over. Excellent in transition. Not really the best of ball handlers. Can't create his own shot or shots for others. Alonzo Gee, our small forward, back in 2010, he was the D-League Rookie of the Year.
It's interesting for a guy who went undrafted.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year deal with us for $10 million to stay in Cleveland. So we might have a steal here if we progress him correctly.
Oh, I can live with that.
And then there's Tristan Thompson. Really scrappy and got some good hustle to him. And that helps him out on defense and on offensive putbacks. But he is really still developing.
Okay, so the front court is where we're probably going to have to make the most improvements. Riley, you getting this?
Got it.
Good. I want to gauge the market for some of these guys just to see what's possible.
I'm on the ESPN trade machine right now, working on it.
You're so diligent. So who's backing up Kyrie?
Booby! I mean Daniel Gibson.
Daniel Gibson is a shooting guard who's too small to play the position, so we call him a point guard. Let me ask the question again. What point guard is backing up Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, Sean Livingston. Sean Livingston, man. We got Sean Livingston, damn it.
You're joking.
Well, it's that or we could go with Josh Shelby. You make the choice. Who's a project and not that great of a ball handler. Or you could just let Dion orchestrate the offense from time to time.
Look, God bless Sean Livingston and his knee and whatnot, but what you're telling me is that my starting point guard has to look to my starting shooting guard to be the facilitator when he sits on the bench?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we stuck with.
Riley, start immediately looking at what point guards are available and who's on the trade market. I want a list of available free agents by the end of the day and possible trade scenarios by the end of the week. But back to Daniel Gibson, why have we not upgraded from him yet?
I can answer this one. Back in 2008, he signed a 5-year, $21 million contract with the team.
So Alonzo G is being paid $3 million a year, and we're paying $4 million a year for Daniel Gibson, who sits on the bench and most Cleveland fans are frustrated with?
Oh, and we're paying Anderson the guy with the big hair. He signed a 6-year, $51 million contract in 2009.
Fuck you, Danny Ferry! So is there anyone else on the roster I should be paying attention to?
We want to develop Tyler Zeller as a possible starting center to work along with Kyrie. I think we might have something with him for sure.
I'm more excited about that than Varejão's contract.
We brought in Spates this summer, but he hasn't been the most valuable player that we thought that he would be.
Well, I guess I can figure out something with him. We'll see what we can do there.
And we got CJ Miles, who's a project, a bit of a journeyman, along with Luke Walton over there, as backups for G.
Wow. We have a long way to go.
Oh, there is one more guy that Dan Gilbert's kind of high on.
Oh, and who's this?
You haven't heard of Andre Crawford? He's part of the Cavaliers' new My Player series.
My Player series?
Yeah, Dan Gilbert wanted to do a feature on coming up with a young talent on the team, and he signed Crawford just before the season. It basically just tracks his story and progression through the league. Andre is a British basketball player who is the son of the soccer player Jonathan Crawford and model Vanessa Page.
I feel like I've heard this and that name somewhere before.
After playing in Brooklyn for his high school career, he played over in France and proved what a phenomenal athlete he was. He can jump through the roof and has some decent handling skills. He's a project, but with some serious potential.
I got it! Andre Crawford was the serial killer in the 90s who was into necrophilia. That's who he is.
Who? What? Hold on. What? Say that again. Hold on. What?
That was a real thing. He actually...
That's not funny.
I'm serious. Google it. It's... never mind. Okay, so he can jump really high and dunk the ball. How did he end up undrafted and come to Cleveland?
Well, he was brought on to Denver's summer circuit team. Then they released him. And then Dallas brought him on to play preseason, and they released him too.
Why?
He's getting used to being 6'10". He shot up from 6'6" last year, so he plays like a guard and a forward's body. But 4 inches in a year? Think about it.
Get to the point.
He can't really shoot. And he's weak in the paint. And he can't really defend either. A bit more of a help defender at best. It's not very consistent. But there is a lot of promise, according to Dan Gilbert. And that's why he's a part of our rotation on the bench.
No, he's going to be developing his skills in the D-League and not wasting my time with a spot on the bench.
We can't send him to the D-League.
What do you mean we can't send him to the D-League? Dan brought the charge all the way from New Mexico here to Canton. That's a 1-hour drive. I'll drive his ass there right now. Well, I don't know why they would ever remove that option in his contract, but I guess we're just going to have to work around it. I guess all we can really do now is look forward to opening night against the Wizards here at Quicken Loans. Then I can make a real assessment on the roster.
you.